Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. And here locally today.
That's right.
With some familiar faces. I'll tell you what, let's start on this side. Everybody knows Dylan.
That's right.
Dylan's on the mic today.
Yeah.
This is Dylan. What is your saying? This is
Which one?
Dylan says this is you're on the mic with
You're on the mic with Street. What's your beef? That one. That's to the close friends.
I feel like we need to you're like a disc jockey or something.
Yeah,
I love it. So I'll tell you what, we'll just do round robin. We'll go over here with Cord. You want to introduce yourself? Just go from there, man. There's no formalities here.
Right. So my name is Cord Cook. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at HHO Carbon Clean Systems. 3 kids.
Nice.
Assistant
Family
coach
guy.
football on the side. We were not great this year. Dylan attends all the games. He's a big supporter of the high school, so he knows, the ire. But anyway.
But you do softball and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
You own a salon. Like, come on now. Dig in now.
Weddings. We just did a wedding.
I know.
over the
That
weekend.
was epic. I was there.
It was awesome.
Yeah. It looked like freaking Harry Potter. I don't know, man. It was wild.
I didn't even see you. Yeah, I'm content whenever it looks right. And then I go back to the room because I don't want to be like in the middle of the sort of ceremony and all that. But anyway.
I was thinking, did y'all buy all that stuff? I mean, this is way off the record, but that was a lot of stuff. Yeah. That was huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trust me, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to get
Dude,
Praise the Lord.
that's 1/10, 1/15. I mean, not even, it's crazy. Anyway.
Dylan's got a cool like Massac High School story. You know what I mean? Like we need to put some of that in a video. I wonder if Deanna can find that and put it in. Like I'll kind of run it for you guys a little bit. But Dylan, you didn't finish high school.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
dropped out. It was the last day of my junior year. Yeah,
and then but he ended up getting like a honorary diploma, and like the community really rallied around him to bring that in, and I actually saw him break down as the coolest thing I ever saw.
So cool.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Well deserved, Dylan.
Yeah, it was good,
awesome.
man.
It was, man, because he's done so much. So let's get over to this side of the table.
Jared English, founder and CEO of HHO. Married, have a lot of kids, 9.
9 kids? You got 9 kids?
I mean,
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I wish, like me and Deanna always say, we wish we'd have had, more kids. I think it's awesome.
My youngest one is 3. My oldest is 19.
Nice.
He's in the Marine Corps, and they're kind of spread out all in between.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, dude. I love it. Like I a lot of our listeners have big families. You know what I mean? Like my mom was one of 9. My dad was like one of 16. Like we had 2 kids, and we were like, I'm tapping out. I quit. Yeah. Like we can't afford these guys, so we're gonna have to.
Well, 3 seemed like plenty to me until now. 2 are out of the house, and Jocelyn's about to turn 16, and we get home in the evenings after like running for the last, 10 years, whatever, keeping up with them. And now like she's effectively independent. Like we're begging to drop her off someplace, and, before she turns 16, and she doesn't need us at all anymore. So, Annalisa, actually not long ago, we were going to a volleyball game, walking across the parking lot, and my wife, like I said, Jocelyn, my youngest, is about to turn 16. She was like, you think we should have another kid? Walking across the parking lot into a volleyball game. I was like, Lord almighty.
Gosh.
Well, you should. Right?
I was done, moved on to, raising the grandkids, and then she's just like casually, anyway.
Or get another dog.
Another dog.
Yeah, like let the feeling pass, right? Yeah, like
I wouldn't have a problem. I wouldn't have
we
any problem.
if we'd have known, I guess the thing, I don't know, I guess looking back, if anybody said you have regrets, one of the big regrets I have is that we didn't have, a slew of kids. I mean, we love kids. We can't wait. We've got a grandbaby on the way now, and we're like stoked about this grandbaby getting here, and we can't wait to see her. But that's maybe my biggest regret is we were like, oh no, we can't afford, because we were pretty poor. You know what I mean? Like I always tell the story. Me and Deanna started in a 1973 festival, single wide 12 by 45 trailer. It cost my aunt and uncle let us like get it for $6,500, and we paid payments on it until it could get paid off. And we had $600 when we got married, which is to say she had $600 when we got married. Not only because it was hers after that, but it was even hers before it got there. I had zero. I brought nothing. I brought this hairline to the table, and she was
conversation skills.
Yeah. She was chasing me, man. She was running after me one time, I remember. And I jumped up on the bed and then jumped off of the bed and went through the floor. So like,
tell them where you live. I don't know if they know where you live.
We grew up in Olmsted.
Yeah. Okay.
My dad was from here in Metro, but like I grew up in Olmsted. My mom's from there, and like a lot of her family come up through Cairo, and my grandma actually just made her way up the Ohio or Mississippi River. She was from Baton Rouge, and then they stopped in Cairo, and so there's like a lot of history there. My other grandma lived on a casino boat, because back then they
had quarters, and you could just ride up and down. No,
crazy.
So she lived on that. Like we got some crazy stories, both of my wife's side of the family and my side of the family.
But that dovetails too into sort of like our broader thoughts. So as you're saying that, I'm sitting here thinking you're talking about grandkids, and obviously I want to help raise my grandkids and everything else. But we're here in rural Southern Illinois, Western Kentucky. On some level, you have to make an argument, or not literally argue, but you have to make an argument to your kids as to why they would stay close enough that you can even do that, right?
Yeah.
There's like an economic argument that you have to make or try and set your kids up with a way to make this like a viable option. Yeah. I've only got 3. And it's hard to.
It's one
hard for me
fight
to
just
see
to
how
keep
they
them.
would stay.
We all live in Metropolis in Massac County, all of us right here. So it's hard enough to keep them here in the community they grew up with because they want to go across the river, just gravitate there, and then they get a little bit older. They're like Nashville. St. Louis, and it's I don't know, but just showing people that you can make a way here, live a good life, raise a family.
I think a lot of that comes back to like segues into ownership, creation, making opportunity. Jared, you're the founder, of HHO. I don't know if you or Cord want to take the commercial. I asked Cord earlier to give me a 2-minute commercial. I'll let you guys work that out among you guys. But what would you say, like, if you were talking to the audience saying, what does HHO do? Break that down for them so they understand.
Yeah, sure. So, we're a preventative maintenance company. We're kind of, there's pretty much 2 different companies in one. We're a franchisor because we're serious about seeing other people succeed and owning their own business. So we have a franchise model. And we also have our local service area here that we run, along with some equipment sales and stuff that we've developed. Everything revolves around hydrogen. Everything revolves around preventative maintenance and helping out our fleet customers and diesel truck owners, gasoline engines. It doesn't matter what kind of engine it is, really. But we know the struggles that these people are seeing with after-treatment systems, diesel exhaust filters, turbochargers. They're not designed to be operated the way most of our customers operate them. So they have high failure rates, and that's where we step in and kind of fill the gap. Keep these things clean, keep the carbon in check. These parts last longer, less downtime, and keeps them out actually making money with their equipment, which is what they want to be doing.
Who would you say, like, as far as the is it like machinery or is it trucks? What would you say is your, who all do y'all cover most of the time? Like, I know it's good for anything that produces carbon, but, who would you say that it's best for?
Hello, shed seller. Do you feel like some days you are on an island trying to navigate through the complexity of perfecting your shed sales process? For years, the shed seller has often had the do the best you can standard. At Shed U, we want to help you make doing the best you can more than guesswork with a proven shed sales process. Shed U was created for you, the shed seller, and aims to help you, the shed seller, learn the best techniques for selling sheds. How do we do that? Elements of Shed University include sheducation you deserve as a shed seller, such as sales process management, lead follow-up, and sales script development. But wait, there's more. Attending Shed U is double the fun, because after you attend Shed U on January 23rd and 24th of 2024 at the Knoxville Convention Center, you can attend the Garage Shed Carport Builder Show on January 24th and 25th. That's right. All registrants for Shed U receive complimentary admission to the GSCB show, which includes even more educational opportunities. If you have been wanting to improve your shed sales process for yourself or your sales team, be sure to attend Shed University, the obvious choice to grow your shed sales. At Shed University, class is now in session.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of have our hit list when we're talking to customers: high idle times, slow moving. So the more you idle, the slower you move, the less regeneration you're going to get of that after treatment system, and then it kind of steps up from there. But all that really does is tell us how often we need to service that vehicle. So the ones running up and down the road, doing what they're designed to do, hauling 80,000 pounds up the road, we're going to do those annually. Trash trucks, concrete trucks, we're going to do those quarterly. So we just talk with the customer, figure out what their failures are, what are their pain points, and we figure out how we can step in.
Do an initial health report, right?
Yeah.
Our techs will go out and will effectively take an initial report. We have basically a dozen, depending on make, model of that vehicle. How many PIDs is like the sort of industry term, parameter IDs, basically just those data sets that sensors and things are giving you out of that engine. But we'll go out and we want to look at DPF inlet, outlet, differential pressure, turbo boost, turbo RPM, NOx emission reduction. We basically want to understand how much carbon, how much excessive carbon buildup has taken place in this engine. And, the thing that kind of goes unsaid here is carbon is a natural byproduct of incomplete combustion. So all internal combustion engines are trying to be as efficient as they can. I mean, we know that, we have regulations around it now, right? Not only the manufacturers want that, but the government requires it. But we are not at complete combustion. Internal combustion engines are producing heavy carbon gases, deposits, and then as you restrict those that exhaust flow, as you add DOC, DPF, SCR. In fact, we've got some of them cut up behind you there that we use as training aids. But as you restrict that exhaust flow and slow that exhaust down, it cools, it settles, and similar to the arteries in your body, right? You just start to have a smaller and smaller opening. Back pressure on the engine, you lose performance, and ultimately you get increased downtime, increased cost to repair, and overall reduced life of that piece of equipment, that engine.
Will this keep you got a stuck turbo, or you're running through these DEF filters and all that? Does it help in all that? Or
yeah, big time. So I just sort of gave the brief version, but one of the PIDs we look at is VGT expected position, or VGT.
So before you run a service on a any type of vehicle, y'all get the data and how it's operating, then you do the service, and then you kind of check back and see,
deliver those results. That's right. Make sure, go back and review where all were we able to make improvements here. In fact, one of just recently, our technicians went out. They were doing a job actually for Boyd Cat out of Paducah. So for a heavy equipment dealer, for a Caterpillar dealership, and the truck had no known issues. Right, it didn't have a known problem. They were just doing regular preventative maintenance because they know that this is important, because they're the ones who are taking them apart and seeing how inundated with carbon they are. But cut their DPF differential pressure from 0.12, which is perfectly workable, nothing wrong with 0.12, down to 0.03, right? Chop 75% of the restriction. Even though there isn't much there, right? We're reducing that down. As far as turbos, we've seen really incredible results where they are literally stuck.
Yeah.
Where the actuator maybe has burned up already. Those veins inside that are supposed to move around are completely stuck, and we've actually had some miraculous results with those, getting them to work again. But I think the daily preventative maintenance is even more impressive, where we're sitting there taking a turbo that should be opened all the way to 73%, but it's got just a little bit of restriction in it, right?
Yeah.
Should be open to 73. When we start the service, we're only getting it to 50, right? And then by the time we complete it, it's asking for 73%, and it's getting 73%. To me, I like those results just as much as I like miracles, right?
Turbochargers happen over a long time. So you lose a little bit of boost over time. The driver really doesn't notice it because it's at such small increments. But
like how we get fat.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it just happens.
But turbo boost
slowly then all at once
is directly related to fuel economy, right? So if you're not getting the right amount of boost, you're not getting the right amount of air into the cylinder, so fuel economy is down, and we get all that boost back and regain that fuel economy. And that's what most of the results, our customers, the feedback we get is, hey, my truck runs like it used to because I got all that boost back.
Yeah.
My fuel economy got restored to what it was, when it was closer to new.
Climb that hill, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So it prevents downtime. That's kind of what you're doing, is preventing downtime. Well, see, so there's another company we work with. It's called Micro IT, and so what they do is they install their tool set on your computer so you don't get viruses. And what happens a lot of times, though, is that their customers will call after a year and be like, "Yeah, I've never had to use your services," and they're like, Well, yes, because you haven't got a virus, right?
Because it's working.
Because it's working. I mean, do y'all feel like it can kind of fall in that, or you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Sort of. I think for us, it is the fact that there's not a broad understanding of these ideas, right? There's not a broad understanding that filter that is made out of rare earth metals, mesh filter, that is supposed to be doing its job as designed.
You talking about the DEF filter?
Yeah, it gets a micron, a half a micron worth of carbon deposits on top of it. It stops doing its job, right? Your truck starts to excessively regen. Eventually it goes into limp mode, derate. Now it's sitting in the shop for 3 days while you take it off. Send it to someone to be baked or backflushed or some very excessive, critical emergency fix, whenever the reality is we can prevent this stuff. But yes, for our recurring customers, right?
Yeah.
Like the ones that we've now had for 3 years, they start to be like, well, we don't even have, what do you mean you're fixing after treatment problems? We don't even have after treatment problems. It's like, because,
That's right.
But it's, there's
at
a
some
component
point they're
there.
going to have to take the diesel exhaust filter off. We just make that time frame.
Just push it back. Push it back.
Hey, Deanna, I need to write a new ad for Shed Hub. Give me some ideas.
Why don't you do something catchy like the insurance commercials do all the time, where they just repeat the same thing over and over?
Like a little jingle or something like that.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be embarrassing?
That is kind of the point.
What type of music?
Try rap.
Shed Hub helps you sell shit.
Maybe country.
Shed Hub helps you sell sheds.
Rock and roll.
Shed Hub helps you sell sheds.
Maybe just go back to your normal writing style.
Shed Geek and Shed Hub are now collaborating to make for a better customer experience. I want to save you some money. Shed Hub is focused on signing up the next 500 customers. We're calling it the Next 500 Plan.
Real creative.
You think it'll help if I sing again?
I'd rather you not.
Well, that makes 2 of us.
So what's the next 500 plan?
The Next 500 Plan is simple. This will include 100 listings per month, per location, along with the Brand Builder website. And the plan will last for 1 full year.
But how do they save money?
It only costs $39 a month. There's never been a better time to sign up. Just go to geek.shedhub.com, click subscribe, enter your name, email, and payment information, and you will be contacted by a Shed Hub employee to get you onboarded for just $39 per month. Shed Hub helps you sell shit.
So if we rewind a little bit, I try to just imagine what could happen in my life to where I'm like shooting hydrogen in an engine to figure out what happens. Like, can you explain to us how did this even come about? Now, and maybe you need to give a little bit of your background because I do know that.
Right. So, my entire career has been in the automotive and diesel industry. It's all I've ever done. Went to college for it, worked in shops in high school, opened my own shop up when I was 23 years old in 2003. Ran it all the way up till June of 2018. We had a fire. Yeah. Had to rebuild the shop. While we're rebuilding the shop, guess what happens? COVID.
Yeah.
So it was just a whirlwind of stuff going on at that time. And I remembered a conversation I had with somebody at some point talking about hydrogen, using it for cleaning carbon. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take a deep dive into this. And, this March of 2020 timeframe, this was just a concept in my garage.
Yeah.
We were putting together hydrogen equipment, producing hydrogen, figuring out how it worked. And, there was no processes. This isn't something that, we bought from another company. I mean, we figured this out from the start.
Yeah.
And there was, we learned a lot, blew a few things up, small explosions. But we were learning, we're not, we're not scientists and all that, but we were figuring out hydrogen and how to make it work and do exactly what we wanted. And that's what we did. And, quickly after that, I think it was June of 2020, we put our first mobile van together.
Yeah.
Put it out on the street. Terry Bunning, another local guy, still works here. We went out and started testing it with customers.
Yeah.
The results were great. And then kind of in that time frame, I'm like, it's just me and Terry. I needed Cord on board, which was a 3 or 4 month process to talk him into leaving a very stable job to come to work for a startup with no customers.
Yeah.
That was a conversation he had to have with his wife. He sold it though.
Yeah.
And how did you think Cord y'all would work well together? I'm just curious how that. Wouldn't even have thought y'all had a relationship before. You know what I mean?
I'm much older than Cord, but, I've known Cord because his wife and his kids were my kids' friends. And I always admired his personality and his confidence. And so I needed somebody that had that, right? I am a technical guy.
Sure.
I'm not a salesman. I'm not any of that stuff, but I knew I needed that. So
sure.
I was lucky to get Cord on board. And, he kind of we make a great team when it comes to that.
Yeah.
He's very outgoing, makes friends, can just fill a room up and, work a room where, I'm not that great at that.
Yeah.
But, so it's been awesome. And we got some other great people on the team now as well. But
that's right.
Really just about like letting people do what they know how to do.
That's right.
Like if you stay in your lane, there's a big conversation about collaboration efforts in the shed industry, but I think there's always a conversation about collaboration efforts in business in general, trying to figure out where it works and meets competition. But it just seems like a buzzword, like remember when synergy was the big thing? Right. We need synergy, and it's so like collaboration seems to be the thing that you hear everywhere now for like the last, 2, 3, 4 years. But identifying like your strengths and identifying your weaknesses and then staying in your lane and saying, hey, let that person be best. Like Dylan is an exceptional marketer. Like whenever we talk with marketing clients, I step out of the way once I know it's his position, it's his microphone to be at. And I don't try to take that, right?
We had a rough call yesterday, Shannon.
I did take the phone, didn't I?
I gave up.
Man, I don't want to, I never want to leave anything. I don't know, man. I want to take care of customers to the end. And if there's a fault in me, it's that like you want to be able to serve everybody.
Yeah.
And some people are just hard to serve. Yeah, you know what I mean? Some people have, large like cheeseburger appetite and a corn dog budget. It's just
praise the Lord.
It's the way it works some days. But I'm thinking. So what I thought would be really cool, in the conversation today is how you guys, to me, I don't want to limit you to this by any means because the service you offer helps anybody. But it really relates to the shed haulers in our industry big time because logistics is a big part of sheds. But I mean, there's guys out here with, 8 or 9, truck fleets, semis that, haul for, in 2 or 3, 4 different states. And, so you guys talk about prevention. I think about the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So like if you can take the time, to prevent, how much are you saving? And I really got to connect you guys. I was talking about connecting you guys with like Sam Byler and the whole shed hauling industry and the events that they have and stuff like that, and see if something shakes loose. We'll get like you guys connected, but those guys are all like very do-it-yourself kind of guys. But I'm curious, like you're in Metropolis, how do you either service people in Texas or how do you service people in Colorado? I mean, what's that even look like?
Yeah, so I mean, early on, we had to make some decisions, and how did we want to scale this company? Did we? And this was during COVID. Keep in mind. So, did we want to try to buy 100 vans, hire 100 people? That was impossible during COVID. So we decided to franchise the company, which was a huge undertaking for guys that weren't experienced in the franchise world.
That was like one of the first things we endeavored whenever I came on, was to explore that. And it is a complete industry, just like people wouldn't necessarily realize that the shed industry is truly like this behemoth of a thing. Franchising has all the, supplementary industries and everything else, suppliers, vendors, same way. So it was intimidating, but
right. So we had a great business model. We knew we had very high profit margins, so we went the franchise route. And currently, we have 15 operating locations spread out pretty much from Texas to Montana, Atlanta, kind of all in, but
to Denver,
definitely,
Atlanta to Denver, Montana to Houston is basically the sort of right down the middle swath of the country.
We're signing 2 more guys on in Texas next week. So Texas is huge for us. The oil fields, it's a booming economy down there.
Yeah,
so
I love it. Texas.
Dallas, Houston, Midland, Odessa, San Antonio's coming up. So I mean, we've got Texas covered. Oklahoma City.
What is the like if you have a franchisee in the DFW Dallas region, how far do they service generally?
Well, in the franchise world, you have a dedicated territory to you, but you can buy multiple territories.
Sure.
And Mr. Wiley in Dallas, he owns multiple territories in Dallas, Fort Worth, and also up into Arkansas. So,
like Texarkana?
No,
North, Little Rock, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, one franchisee, if he has one territory, is about a 300,000 population, but it's usually in a, close to a big city, a big urban area. But they can go anywhere if they just can't cross into another franchisee's territory. So, but they can go anywhere other than that.
Yeah, it's a protection, but not a limitation, right? So they can, if we were to get a call from someone, I don't know, Santa Fe, right? We don't have a franchisee in Santa Fe, but, that's pretty far out of the way for everybody, really. But
that was a bad choice of an example.
Maybe
we get it.
Maybe more like Lawrence, Kansas, right? Yeah. They go to KU or whatever. Steve Kernoff, who's our franchisee in Oklahoma City. Geographically, I'm not, it's not fresh in my mind. Obviously, Mr. Wiley there in Dallas. The new guys who are signing up in Odessa. Any of those guys could go there. So we're not limiting them that they cannot leave, a certain zip code or whatever else. But it's to protect them so that as we continue to fill this map up with HHO franchises and mobile service units, that they have their protected territory.
Sure. Yeah, and we have guys that call us, hey, we're traveling through I-24. We're going to be driving I-24 next week. Can we pull off and get a service?
Yeah.
And there's so many guys that come up to this area, I think about shed haulers specifically because a lot of them will go up to the Cardinal manufacturing location up here in Carrier Mills, which is 30 minutes up the road.
Right.
Yeah. For sure. Like you got, and then, just Paducah, there's so much stuff that happens out of West Kentucky and
so much.
Man, Court's got a good podcast voice.
Oh yeah, I told you that. Huh? I told you that coming in. I was like, yeah, Court would be a good host of a podcast.
Yeah, he's got like the voice down, man.
The voice may sound good, but people think I'm from I'm the Mississippi Delta or something.
Yeah.
People think I'm just from down south, boy. I lived in Chicago for a while. People thought I was from like Huntsville, Alabama. Like I live in the same state as you. You know?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, you guys held conversation real well.
I would say though that this table, we might be from Metropolis, Illinois, Paducah, but like just not like everyone else.
A worldly bunch.
There's just something different. You know?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I don't
Jared
know.
was up in the Arctic Circle. He was up there hunting caribou.
I know.
6 weeks ago.
That's so cool.
That's
That was awesome.
I wish
wanna
I was
go
that
back.
cool.
Oh, it was fun.
I saw that rifle you used yesterday.
Yeah, you
Pretty
did.
slick.
That's awesome. That's the thing, man. Like being around, like in business, being around like-minded people and growing from like just their experiences. What have you guys taken away from like starting this? What's like, if you look back over 3-5 years or whatever, I mean, obviously, Jared, you've been, working in, a mechanical field for so long, but seeking these new opportunities, is this something that's still has like a ton of life in it, a lot of legs on it? Are you excited about the future? What are the things that have surprised you? What are the things that scares you?
Yeah, so I mean, we're just really getting started. I mean, this is just the beginning, but we're bringing in a new technology, and our biggest problem is the status quo. These technicians in these shops that are used to doing the same thing, getting them to open their minds and kind of look at this new way of doing things, a new way of preventative maintenance. Because you were talking about logistics earlier, and if you're in that business, like there's a couple things you can't predict, and that's breakdowns and weather, right? So if we can step in and, lower that breakdowns just by letting us come in on the preventative maintenance. I mean, this is inexpensive compared to a lot of stuff that you're doing right now. I mean, on a semi, we're doing it anywhere from $325 to $450. I mean, that's what air filters cost, right?
Yeah.
You can't even get an oil change for that. The 1-ton diesel trucks, somewhere, depending on where you're at in the country, $225 to $300. I mean, it's well worth it if you can control just a little piece of that preventative maintenance that's actually working.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think any of us take the time, fix the problem when it's a problem, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, there's a word there in ministry, right? Like, let's don't try to be ahead of the problem. Let's fix the problem once it becomes a problem, right?
Well, and I'll tell you, not to get too deep in whose religion this or that, but the culture of the upper Midwest, I guess, like the culture around our franchisees who are in Missoula, Montana, Wyoming, Cody, Wyoming, Mr. Grin's out in Cody, and Mr. Lakeview in Missoula. See, there's a culture up there that very much is stay on top of it, right? Mm-hmm. But you understand why. If you get stuck 40 miles from the next, like if you're on the side of the road and it's 40 or 50 miles and it's 0 degrees and the wind's blowing 25 miles an hour, you're already behind the 8 ball, right? Like you're in trouble, probably physically out there, right? I mean, a cold, Missoula, Montana winter, Cody, Wyoming winter.
Plus, everything's an emergency when that happens.
Everything's an emergency.
It's not a normal tow call. Everything's going to cost you more.
But you're right. But, I think, just like that sort of learning and understanding, I think for me, what I've taken out of these, I guess going on 4 years already, is that how long? 3.5 years, is to really be humble, right? I mean, our approach has changed. Me and Jared are as firm in our beliefs, as steadfast that we are right, as anybody, you're going to meet, right? But you have to be able to hear what people are saying back to you. You have to be able to learn about markets, learn about, how do we sell this to this group, this organization. Obviously, our approach changes a lot if we're talking to the government or we're talking to, a guy who has 6 concrete trucks and is, out here busting it every day. Like those are 2 different conversations. And, to me, it's really learning how to take the feedback, which we get a ton of. I don't know, as a franchisor, franchisees are happy to give us a bunch of feedback and take those kernels, right? Those super, super valuable kernels out, right? And then build on those. Let's make a whole program out of this one little insight that is so, so valuable.
Let's get this man a pulpit. You know what I mean? Like I like.
Oh, we have one around here. We can roll it out of the back. I mean,
you can.
My grandpa was a preacher. I don't mean to get up on a stump here.
No, you're good, dude. I love it. I think those moments are some of the coolest moments because, like, it shows. Well, it shows your vulnerability in that you have to like listen to your customer. Like we've heard for years, the customer's always right. Sometimes like those little cliches stick around for a long time, not because the customer is literally always right, but you really have to hear. You have to have an ear to hear what your customer is telling you.
And be discerning about that value, right?
That's it.
Like, the customer may not always be right, but there's 1 in 100 of those customer being right. One in 100 of those pieces of feedback is so freaking valuable.
Yep.
It makes it to where you have to say they're right all the time, right?
Yeah.
Because that one piece builds Amazon.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
That one little piece builds,
I'm going to start clapping. I'm going to stand up here in a minute and start clapping, dude. I love that energy. I like just your whole train of thought there.
You see why I chased him down for all those months,
man.
Shannon?
Absolutely. You guys have done, it's like built like this really cool relationship too among yourselves where like you can, scale that out. Like you have the parts to build on. A lot of people are getting to the top of the project and they're going, oh no, something's messed up way down here. And you guys have built something on the bottom that can go a lot farther. I love it. I love the whole train of thought that you're doing. So
hi, I'm Dylan from the Shed Geek marketing team, and I want to address a common misconception about marketing. Often people approach us for just one service, like social media management, where we plan and schedule your monthly posts. While this is a valuable time saver, it's just one piece of your complete marketing strategy, much like a shed with its various components. Let's simplify it. Think of your social media channels and Google My Business as the foundation, similar to the runners of a shed. They support your digital storefront, your website, which is like the floor joists and band boards. To enhance your marketing, you'll need tools like Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel, and Google Tags, which are like the walls. These tools help track the success of your campaigns, measuring form submissions, 3D shed creations, and phone calls generated by our ads. Now, let's talk about the roof. Meta and Google ad campaigns. These are the top layers that complete your marketing shed. While you may inquire about one specific service, remember, they all contribute to the overall structure of your marketing strategy. At Shed Geek Marketing, we're happy to work on one individual aspect, but our goal is to build a comprehensive marketing shed that will truly stand out in the digital landscape. If you're ready to talk about your marketing strategy that will take your shed business to the next level, just go to shedgeek.com and fill out a submission form or contact the Shed Geek for more information.
What is for the shed industry? What do you think? I don't know. I want to connect you guys in however I can. I don't know if I can be a resource, but maybe selling to anyone can be difficult. Selling to the shed industry, I always joke and say they can be really hard. So like we didn't just come on here just to pitch a bunch of people coming on, but I definitely want to add value to their day. You guys talk in a really heady space about the particulars of the mechanics. So like, I really like, it'll be cool to do like another episode at some point eventually too. And like have some guys come in that can really discuss high level. Cause a sales guy might listen to this and his eyes glass over and be like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but hey, that guy's probably driving home in a car that's got, carbon buildup. So I just purchased an RV. Well, got our first diesel. So I'm learning all about DEF, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like all these things. So like the things you're talking about are interesting me. So like, how does that benefit someone like me? Take me through, like, if I run this RV up and down the road, we get 300,000 miles out of this. Is it extending the life of the engine, or is it more about performance specifically, or both?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both because, the components we're talking about, turbo, after treatment, combustion chamber, intake, exhaust valves, all that is, the health of your engine. It's just all related. But in your case with the RV, there's going to be a time where that thing is going to start regenerating more often. You're going to start using more DEF. Because the pressure in the after treatment system, as it increases, it regenerates more, trying to lower it. Then it increases more, it keeps it. So you're going to get that more often. I mean, we have customers call and say, hey, we're regenerating 2-3 times a day. And that's a problem, because when it goes into regeneration, now you're using, you're using more diesel fuel, you're losing power, losing performance, you're increasing those exhaust temperatures. It's hard on everything.
Costing money.
Costing money.
Yeah.
And you're not out trying to make a living per se with your RV, but if you were in a dozer or a skid steer or a forklift and you're having to pull over on a job site for 30 minutes while this thing regenerates, that's not very efficient. So
my experience is that Shannon's pretty creative on how he makes a living.
Well,
so maybe he is making a living out there now.
Well, hey, that RV is solely for traveling for work, man.
Right.
Like, we're going out trying to meet everybody in the country, and shed haulers, dealers, manufacturers. We try to go to all the things, but yeah, it's going to put, we're going to put some miles on it. We're seeing these people, and like, I'm already in my head going, so explain to me, regenerate, whenever it goes into where it needs to regenerate, what is that? Break that down for somebody like me. What is it doing?
Yeah, so I mean, the way I try to explain it most of the time is, the diesel exhaust filter is made to store ash. So when it goes to regenerate, it's aiding in that that process. So it uses diesel exhaust fluid as a chemical reaction, the SCR, to turn more of that soot into ash. Pretty much. So, because at the end of the day, the federal government says we need to lower NOx emissions, which is nitrates of oxide. That's a harmful emissions. It's in diesel soot coming out of the tailpipe. And through the after treatment system, it lowers the NOx emissions, and it does a good job at it. Like, it works. It's just a lot of components to fail. And that's what we're seeing. It wasn't designed for some of the use that we're using this equipment for. Although, lawnmowers have this stuff on it now. Diesel lawnmowers they got a regeneration button on them.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it goes to use cases as well, right? To our point about low speed, high idle, right? You're going to have a lot less issues with regeneration if you're driving out to Moab, right? If you're driving to the West Coast in your RV, on the interstate where there's plenty of natural engine temperature that can be diverted, exhaust pressure that can, it's going to be a lot better. But my understanding of kind of the way you all have explained some of the shed industry is that these haul guys are doing basically 150-ish kind of radius around where they are. I mean, I can't imagine. I would imagine that a lot of that winds up being on county roads and highways, and right.
Yeah,
a lot of it winds up being out in the slower speed, and then I don't know exactly how they operate once they get there. But I know that if it's hot outside, most people leave that truck running.
Yeah, that's right.
And if it's cold outside, most people leave that truck running. And so I would imagine that they probably have more issues in that sort of final stage, to user hauling than probably what, guys who are stacking multiples on a trailer and going across the country, stuff like that, right? So it's very much by use case, but, that's sort of, I think, where that's like the natural fit. Now we've got customers. We were working for Applegate Insulation right across the river a couple weeks ago, and so they actually make insulation. They're taking recycled paper, turning it into insulation, but they use skid steers around their production facility. So, I think there's an obvious kind of we could provide value in a way like that where you're actually producing these things. A lot of these skid steers now, they've tucked these DPFs. Obviously skid steers are compact, but they've tucked these DPFs above the engine on Caterpillar skid steers.
You have to raise the cab up?
Below the engine.
Oh, below the engine.
You have to remove the engine.
Remove the engine to go
What?
get to it.
Yeah.
It's a crazy job if you take it to the dealer. So the dealer is referring their own customers to us to go out and perform this service because they don't feel right.
Yeah, now
basically charging their customers to do that, right?
That's interesting because you would think that these mechanics, these diesel mechanics or heavy equipment, they wouldn't want to people to use your service because they make money off parts. How do y'all, deal with that?
In the instance of the Caterpillar, that is a 4,000 hour routine maintenance. So it's not necessarily bad or faulty. It's just say if you have a company that deals with Caterpillar, they're going to follow their plan, right? And in 4,000 hours, it's telling Caterpillar that they need to replace that filter, whether it's toast or not.
Yeah.
And these guys have a conscience, and they're like, that's $19,000 or whatever to do that. And they're like, well,
gosh,
if we can get you guys to come in and do your service and extend that life to even 5,000 hours, you know what I mean? Get them another 1,000 hours out of it. That's better for the customer. So that was just more of a conscience thing on the local Caterpillar dealers, because Caterpillar recommends changing it 4,000 hours.
Sure. You hope that gets all the way up the food chain, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's expanding. The OEs are the tough ones, right? Because OEs sell parts. And if we're extending the life of parts, then they're not making as much money. So there's always been friction with the OE dealers and us. We have some that use us and some that are getting, like Caterpillar and a couple other ones across the country that are getting more comfortable using us as a service for them and their customers, right?
Sure.
But you are getting to like the broader dynamics there, which is for the manufacturer, whoever, for the people who actually produce that engine or that exhaust treatment system or whatever else, right? Like there's a different incentive there than there is then at the dealership level where like that is those people's customers, right? They sold them the piece of equipment. And some sales guy looked them in the face and was like, hey, this is what you need, right? And so, like, there's and I'm sure, I mean, we're not in that world, but I have been. I've sold tractors and for a while, and I know how much friction gets created between the dealership and the OE, kind of parent company over service, right? Like, hey, we're looking our customers in the face, people who live next door to us.
Yeah.
Right. People who we know who we're going to have to see at Big John's or, we're going to have to see at the grocery store and they're going to be like, hey, it's not working.
Yeah.
You told me it worked. So, there's a dynamic there. And like, at the end of the day, like my thing is as long as we deliver value over and over and over and over again, which is what we do. And not only do we deliver it, but like we said before, we deliver it and we make them look at it, right? Like we do a pre-report, right? Then we deliver results. Then we do a post-report, and then we go and hand it to them, and then we email it. We keep a printer in the vans because we want them to have a physical copy, and then email a digital, right? Before we ever pull out of the parking lot.
There's something about what you're saying that's kind of like transfers from one industry to the next.
Oh, yeah.
In the shed industry, like for us, we use the term very early on, at least in our experience, was like over-promising and under-delivering, because you're trying to accomplish a sale. You're trying to get things done. And even watching startup companies in the shed industry, it's made me watch other industries and kind of watch how startups happen because, like, you can have like a $1 billion idea that never sees fruition because of the launch or a failure in operations or...
Hey Shannon, who is this Cal person I keep hearing about?
Cal, that's actually an affordable software solution for shed manufacturers and dealers. Cal helps streamline your order management, delivery, point of sale, and e-commerce.
What about RTO and RTO Pro?
Yes, on both accounts. Cal handles both in-house and RTO companies with a very easy step-by-step process that produces a web-based contract.
What about my Idea Room configurator?
Cal and Idea Room are seamlessly integrated. Cal is definitely worth checking out. Call Tristan at 425-359-3279 or visit calcanhelp.com. What's the process look like? How do people find you? How do they then come to the table? And then how does the mobile unit reach them and deliver the service?
Yeah, I mean, for the service side of it, I mean, usually people reach us through our website or give us a call because on our website, it doesn't only list our location, but it lists every franchise location. and it has every one of their emails, phone number, website addresses. So it has a map of the country with all our locations on it, and no matter where you're at, you can contact the closest store there for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
You ever work with these guys?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot.
Yeah.
Been working with them for years.
Yeah, he helped us get the newest map. You were
Yeah,
in
you
on,
were.
Yeah.
That's
you
your
were
map.
in on picking
the map out.
newest map. Yeah.
Well, you know something about
updated.
marketing
In
or what?
coordination with David.
Yeah, we've been working on redoing their website. We shot their first video years ago. I mean, I don't remember 20.
And it still is the best explainer that we have, right? I mean, it's like
Fair enough. And we did a cool animation video.
Did you really?
Yeah, we done a few. Yeah.
We'll have to put some like stuff in the links and
Yeah.
because like we haven't done anything like that for Shed yet. It'd be cool to do like an animated like Shed video or something like that. Like I don't think a lot of people realize that's the thing. Like part of your skills goes way beyond just shed industry. It's just it's part of what we do. But yeah. So it seems
we do a lot of stuff locally. Of course.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Of course. Well, that's
Now before I know we're getting.
you go for it, man. Like we're
Yes. There's a main thing is that
there's no rules here, Dylan.
Do you see his hat? Hydro torch, right? There's some cool stories to what that is. I personally think, I mean, I don't have a big diesel truck anymore, used to, but that is the coolest to me. I don't know why. So Jared, tell us about the hydro torch.
Yeah, so I mean, as we were developing this hydrogen technology, and one day I looked at Terry and I was like, Terry, I mean, let's light this on fire, see what happens, right? So we did, and the result was the hydro torch, which was months and months worth of in our spare time building this hydro torch. And really it just started off, we wanted to build one because we could, right? We didn't really have like, we're going to market this or anything. We really didn't know.
Let me break the ice here. Hydro torch is a cutting torch that runs off water.
Heating, welding, cutting, brazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you plug it into the wall, you light it up. I mean, there's no stored gases. There's no anything. You can look it up online at thehydrotorch.com.
That's right.
But we posted a couple TikTok videos. Actually, I didn't even have TikTok. I downloaded it, posted a video, and it went viral. And Counts Customs in Las Vegas called. They're like, we want you to bring one out here and film with us.
Like from the show.
From the show.
Bro, from the History Channel.
Yeah.
It was awesome. That was one of my favorite trips ever.
Yeah.
We took Dylan to document and everything.
It was great.
So
That's why I had to talk about it, because it was so cool.
Yeah,
So you got to meet the guys from
All of them.
Oh yeah. It was fun. We filmed with them for a day. It was a great experience. The hydro torch, where it's patented. Actually, we're building a brand new headquarters in Paducah, Kentucky, with enough space where we're going to start. It's kind of been on ice because we haven't had, place or the time to do it. But 24 hydro torch is going to get put back up, relaunched, and we still got to work a few bugs out of it. But man, it's awesome. Look at the videos. You plug it in the wall, light it up, and it's pretty cool.
No oxygen, no acetylene, nothing. You just plug it in and go.
As any good business story should start, it was like we were thinking about burning something or blowing something up. It's like, and then it turned into a business idea.
Yeah.
Let's blow something up today.
Yeah, exactly.
And that wasn't the initial plan, but we had to learn a lot of stuff the hard way, right? Because there was no other company or any other technology we could look at, right? And we've built this industry. There wasn't a hydrogen carbon cleaning industry. There wasn't a hydrogen, anything on demand hydrogen. We created this industry, and we have other people kind of trying to fall in behind us. But
they told me a cool story. They were at a big franchisee convention down in Orlando, I think, and afterwards they were at the hotel, just like the Shed Expo and stuff, and talking to some people, and they ended up staying up and chatting with the guys that own R&R Tire, right? R&R Wheel and Tire, they have one here in Paducah, so you can rent tires, rent rims, you can buy tires and rims, but huge company, big franchise company, and they told them that it's not standard for someone with new tech to be able to franchise and do as well and prove the model as well. Because like if you go on Google ads, right, you can't just buy keywords for what they're doing. Like they'll be the ones to kind of create them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they don't really have keywords that you can buy yet. So
creating demand for service, but also creating the sort of natural lift, right? Like it's all the metrics that we measure now. You're right. All the sort of standard automotive, what do you target for, as far as getting into the marketing side of it, what do you target for? It just doesn't apply because there's not a
an industry,
natural base. There's not an industry. There's not,
because we tried.
People aren't looking,
We
right?
tried.
People aren't naturally looking, and so bunch of challenges, but I mean, obviously there are like stressful, tough days, but like it's been so fun.
Yeah.
Right.
When we go to conferences, we were in Chicago here a couple months ago at a franchise conference, and there was, 160 to 100 other franchisors there. And, we're always the most popular guys there because we've actually took something that nobody's ever done and did it. Yeah. They're like, man, we're in a healthhealth
and
franchise,
you're creators.
or we're a restaurant franchise, right?
Yeah.
They're not doing anything new.
Yeah.
And so they all think, and what we're doing is a lot riskier than,
Like y'all are there
what
with
they're
like
doing.
McDonald's and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, somebody made a hamburger before McDonald's. I mean, not to puff ourselves up too much, but yeah. I mean, they weren't the first ones to make a cheeseburger.
I mean, what we're doing is risky and hard, but we're going to succeed at it. I mean, we're just going to keep after it. And that's why we got the respect of the franchise industry because, it's a small world. What is there, 3,800 franchisors? You would think it'd be more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like there's only like 3,800 franchisors in the United States, franchise companies. So,
Man, I talked about like at one point with some guys on sheds trying to figure something like that out, and I don't know. Maybe I should like pick you guys' brain, but like what I've run into, I think Dylan can maybe like back this up. Is what we've run into is like we created a brand. Like Shed Geek became a brand, and we put the brand out there, and then the brand's name became trust. That was really what I wanted to focus on was trust. Like you could do a lot with trust. You can manipulate trust. You have to be accountable, right? So like we wanted to build like intense trust and just recognition, and our tagline became like education through entertainment because the shed industry it's in this like weird moment to me where it's like becoming like an adult. It's been in its adolescent years for so long now that now you're starting to see like, wow, man, there's guys selling $300-400 million a year in sheds. And you're like, wait a minute, this is a long way away from, I want to build some sheds in my backyard, throw them out by the road. These guys are getting drug into the marketing side of it, the sales side of it, and everything in between. So like, I mean, the fact that there's a podcast talking about sheds for the most part. And like, I've had to really think about that. Like we do talk sheds, but we don't just talk sheds. I mean, like even what we're talking here today is things that people can take away from. Yes, you offer a service that can help a component of the audience, but also just a business conversation in general. And like, what I love is like, you guys are like two local guys.
Yeah.
And like, you can take this whole table and you can mimic it in hundreds, thousands of cities across the United States. And these conversations could be happening. And content creation really is the key, I think, for the future. So the more content you're putting out there and educating people, like in our case, it sheds, but I thought, man, there's so many, I don't want to say any particular names of shed companies. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Because I don't want to like diss anybody, but there's like, at least 10 companies with this name and that name and this name. And I was nothing wrong with that, but I was like, are any of those connected? And you find out, no, they're not. So they're not franchising. It's like, from a marketing perspective, like why shouldn't we, I don't really have a Shed Geek brand, but like, imagine what we could do, Dylan, if we did start marketing people as Shed Geek and you franchised your website. So for a guy who's like, I don't really want to keep up with a website. Yeah, but you could rebrand your sheds, and then imagine the power that you could harvest by just buying a franchise and getting a marketing component to what you're doing.
And from experience here, it is the systems, right? It is like you have to bring value through systemization. And not to say that like, I mean, we have, this is now year 3.5, I guess, going on year 4. We've probably rolled over every system that we started with, right? I mean, it's not like create it and leave it and like, whatever. You have to continuously, but it is
that's all business too.
Because like sheds, I mean, I don't know. To me, it would be what you guys are talking about is like, obviously they have distributors, right? Like they have sort of sub distributors and things like that. It's like, what's the difference between a franchise and a distributor? And kind of depending who you ask, I mean, obviously there's legal answers, but like depending who you ask, it is like the systemization. But to your point, right, like that could 100% be a systemization of lead generation, systemization of tactics, right? Systemization of all of those things can 100% justify.
You kind of talked about this whenever you come in, like the product doesn't sell itself. The service doesn't sell itself. It's the same with sheds. I've heard that said a few times. And if you limit yourself to, I'm not saying it won't work, but if you limit yourself to, let's throw these sheds out and they'll sell themselves, you're really doing yourself a disservice unless you're retired and like, I don't really care what happens.
Right.
Like, but the sheds don't sell themselves. Salespeople sell sheds. And I would imagine salespeople sell your service too. So it's not just about the cool thing that you're doing. You guys have adapted the other part of success. And that is, hey, we actually have engaged people who understand, what they're selling. They're educated on it. And then they go after the customer.
Right.
Not in an aggressive way. But they,
I mean,
the cord's like,
there's a fine line. There's a fine line. If you, depending on what context, if you said, I called them 8 times the last week, I mean, some that could cause you to call the police or it could get you a sale. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly
so like,
right.
depending on what context you're talking about, like that's what it takes.
Yeah. We got into a conversation at the Shed Expo about calling somebody on the 17th time. Or whatever, and I remember the person said it was on the show. It was a previous guest, but they said it would call the guy 17 times, and he said, "If you don't stop calling me, I'm going to call the police." And he said, "I understand that, and we respect that, but can I just ask you one question?" He was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Is it because you don't need a shed anymore?" Or whatever. And he never sold the guy anything, but I was like, "Hey, probably more aggressive than I would be, but everybody finds their niche. Like, what if we found something in between?" Like, what if maybe it's not 17 times, but it's not just once? Or
Right.
how about this? How about you even do follow up with your lead? Me and Dylan know the pain points of bringing, I could probably talk with other people on this. Jeff Huxman at Shed Hub. Like me and Jeff, we not get tickled because obviously it's a setback. It's not something you want to do good. But like I remember me and him were discussing a customer said, "Hey, we just want to go ahead and not cancel the service. We don't think it's." So it's like an online marketplace, sheds.
Sure,
it's kind of like Zillow or like Auto Trader. They do that with sheds. And the guy was like, "Yeah, we just don't think we're seeing the benefit from it." Well, we'll go in to look at their account, and they don't have any sheds listed. And it's like, well, if you don't have like any sheds listed, you're not going to sell any sheds. So it's not that the service is really bad as much as like you're not using the service. Like we could get you 3,000 leads, but if you don't call any of them, the service isn't bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you have to follow up. So you have to have all the parts of the process to work. And you guys don't just have the cool franchise, the hydro torch, the carbon cleaning thing, the attention of the franchise ors, but you also have like this developed sales process where you understand you got to meet the customer where they are. And we talked a lot about that before air that I wish the audience could have heard, but who knows? Maybe we'll just do a follow-up episode.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
These guys want to reach out to you. Anybody wants to reach out to you for any reason. They want to find out about your mobile services. They just want to find out. I don't know. Like, do you guys vet these? I imagine you have to go through a vetting process to become like a part of like a franchisee. Who knows? Maybe there's somebody out there interested that at least wants to talk or.
Yeah, it's a whole process. Our franchise development director, Thomas Fremont, he runs that.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Love Thomas.
He's got 10 kids, by the way.
He does. 10 kids.
Yeah.
And they're all top notch.
That's
They're
awesome.
Top
awesome
notch.
kids.
He brings a different one every time they do their
I like
trainings.
Merrick. Merrick's like he's still
Is he the one that makes the mazes?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like just slightly more mischievous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he'll push back. Anyway, I like Merrick. So we have a process, and it's not, we really, as you can probably tell here, we're trying to do something special. We're trying to create an industry. We need people who are motivated, right?
Yeah.
Who have some kind of a interpersonal knack for communication. Who see the vision, who want to grow with it, who want to partner, like truly partner, right? So
that soundbite should be like every sales manager's like opening whenever it comes to like sheds.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Any other industry as well. But I think you should walk in with the soundbite that you just created there. And that should always be like your start, as opposed to, hey, we'll throw some free sheds out here. There's $100,000 worth of free inventory. And the guys are like, I don't know. We'll give it a shot. You know,
Right,
and it's
right,
like,
right.
yeah, that guy's really dedicated to your business. Let me tell you.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly
We'll
right.
give it a shot. We'll see what we can do.
And
Well,
you know, it's
all that stuff can be found on our website too. We have it can all be from the front page, whether it's franchise or service. There's contact forms, everything you need to know about how to get started in franchising or how to contact us for a service. And we love doing demos for people, Shannon. So if somebody calls, they have questions, they have multiple vehicles. If they want to meet up with us, we'll do a demo, show them the results. I mean, the results sell our service. So we love showing that off. So, of course, if you only own one vehicle, we're probably not going to do a demo on one. And, you know, but if you have multiple, vehicles.
Yeah, there's guys that's got like 8-9 trucks, a whole fleet.
So
I mean,
let us do one. No cost, no risk, you know, and we'll show you what we
show up, deliver value. Like that's the business model, which sounds straightforward. We put a lot of work into the systems, but that's it. Show up, deliver value to the customer. The rest of it is sells itself. So the website is www.hhocarbon-clean-systems.com. And because that's a mouthful, we went ahead and bought the other domain, www.hhoccs.com. Will redirect you. 1-800-278-6343.
And really, they should go check out some of like Dylan's work, even on your website, because that shows some of the
YouTube
flexibility.
Also, we got videos on YouTube, website,
LinkedIn, Facebook. All that stuff's got Dylan's work on it.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's all right.
Yeah, he's okay.
Shout out to Dave Miller.
He's all right. Dave's all right.
I love Dave. Man, saved my life one time.
No, Dylan's great. You just have to pick him up sometimes because his cars wind up in the shop so often.
You have a fleet of Mercedes Benz that are always broke down, Dylan.
It's the only thing I like, man.
Branding, Mercedes Benz.
Man,
you began to like it because of branding.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a story behind it.
We'll have to. Yeah, we'll get.
That sounds like a whole episode.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to dig into it. I just.
I appreciate you guys just being on. You're local, which is cool. We run into each other in the community, or will continue to. And like, I think people who are just like going after it, just getting it, just like they just want to be around each other because you work each other up for good works. You work each other up in a good way, you know. And it's not like just this competition all the time. It's like, hey, we're seeing success over this, and like I'll go back and like, you know, measure myself, but not in a way that's like, you know, I used to. Don't get me wrong. I used to go back and be like, gosh, I'm just a failure. Gosh, it just don't work. You know, I've been through all that, and thank God that He brought me out of all that. But it's easy to get around people and be like, man, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, because I constantly want to be learning from the people that I'm around and building up and doing better. So I love it. Thank you guys for being on the show. I want to connect you guys with as many people as we can. If it helps, something shakes loose, it's good, works for you, that's awesome. Yeah, just appreciate you being on. Dylan co-hosting today.
We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. And thanks to your viewers. You know, very, very awesome to kind of get introduced to this world.
Oh, man.
Cord's like
Don't
natural.
be trying to steal him from me, Shannon. I already see the wheels turning. He's like, get ready to make Cord off.
Now, we've talked about doing a local podcast. Like in the recent months, we talk about it often.
Well,
we've talked to you about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys hit it. No, and you have no concerns there. I just think it's cool. I think it's cool that you guys found that. There's a lot of talk about like EOS in our industry, but EOS isn't the only thing. There's like so many other things out there. But the reason I think about it, it's like, you know, when they talk about like the farmer and the gatherer, or like the, you know, the vision and then the implementation side of things. I do think things work that way with a lot of relationships. You guys have a really cool one, and I think you guys should just double down on it. Keep doing more of what you're doing. So I think it's awesome. You both hold your own presence in the room like well. And I think that's what's key. You don't want them to be, you know, so anyway.
More businesses, more often. Oh, we have the three of us have a meeting on the schedule. I put it on there already 3 months ago to talk about doing lighting next year. We call
Christmas lighting.
We call it like jingle jolly. I don't know. Anyway, so we got a meeting on the weather in January to start planning for next year. So let's go on. And anyway, more business all the time. That's what we want.
We've tried selling big blankets.
I still own those domain names.
Well, I still have your blankets.
You talk about a collector of domain names.
Oh, man. You get an idea, I buy the domain name.
I know.
You know, I can't blame you. I mean, some people bought domain names around Shed Geek.
Yeah, they bought
I've never mentioned it. Like some people, like a lot of people bought like Shed Geek Marketing has been bought.
Yeah.
Shed Geek Rental.
That was Dylan.
No, Shed Geek Leasing, Shed Geek Rent to Own, Shed Geek RTO, anything like related around Shed Geek that could be even related in the business. Like a bunch of people went and bought the names early on when we launched. I guess probably
hoping you'd buy them back.
So there's a couple cool things I've learned about that stuff, guys. Like first and foremost, get copyrighted, because if you're copyrighted, like we're not going to buy the domains, but if we wanted to go after them, you would just file with the copyright office to get those domains, because if they're not being used,
I feel like you're like just hoping this person might hear this.
Let them hear it. Let them hear it or not, you know. But if we wanted to go after it, we go after it. But we'll never pay you for those domain names. So
you're right, though, Shannon. Copyright, trademark, everything. We did that day one, which has helped us curtail a lot of our
copyright, trademark, patent,
everything.
The only thing I can hope is with Squarespace buying out Google domains, maybe they can increase those domain costs that are unused to where they just keep paying for them each
$12.99.
Yeah, don't say it. Jared's gonna be like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna have to offload 50 of my domain names."
So you do have Shed Geek Marketing. I knew it.
Oh, Jared!
I knew it. It's all good. Hey, listen, guys, you guys are a blast. Love to hang out with you anytime. Appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks, Shannon.
See you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford here at the Union Grove Lumber Studios. I'm here with the Shed Geek, and we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas.